Hey girl, hey. Welcome to the Hey Girl, Hey podcast, a space to connect, laugh, and support one another through the real moments of life. Every episode is a chance to lean in, learn something new, and grow in ways we didn't expect. So settle in. Let's get into today's conversation. Today, my guest is my oldest daughter, Courtney Chanel. Today, she's going to share her story of living abroad as a teen when the family moved from the US to the United Arab Emirates, specifically Abu Dhabi, the town we lived in with Alain. She was in 11th grade. I wanted her to share her story of living abroad as a teen. How did living overseas change the way you see yourself? Not just as a teen, but as a young woman finding her identity.
Feel as if it was able to let me know that it's okay to not know who you are. It's okay to relearn yourself. When I lived in Georgia, I had a hard time knowing who I was. Just really going from Detroit to Georgia, going from culturally around more people who looked like me. Moving to Georgia, I was around a lot more Hispanics. Now I'm like, okay, well, I want to be around this. I want to dive into the Hispanic culture. And now moving from the Hispanic culture to the UAE, and I'm living around Arabs, Muslims. I'm also around Africans and Europeans, and it was a hard time for me to know that I was Courtney. I was not any of these other things that my friends were. I wasn't Nigerian. I wasn't Emirati. I wasn't Czechoslovakian. I was Courtney, the young black girl from Detroit, learning her way. That is definitely what living abroad has taught me, that it is okay to be different and not be like everybody else.
We talk about this even now of the richness and the value and the experience.
Yes, indeed.
Tell us, how did you go about making friends? How was that experience for you?
The way I went about making friends, of course, I had my American friends that I met through your teacher friends, their daughters, their children, and then the some of the other expat teens who lived there longer, they were able to introduce me to some of their friends, and other people's friends are not your own friends. I had to go out and get my own friends. And one day, the internet can be used for many things. That is basically how I met one of my best friends. And just to keep it short, I'm gonna call him Mo. And I I was on Facebook, and I planned to meet a guy at the mall. I said, hey, I'm gonna be here with some of one of my girlfriends. And he goes, okay, well, is it fine if I bring one of my friends? I say, yeah, we can it can be like a group thing. We can all go out and do something. So essentially, Mo and we ended up kicking it off a little bit better than the guy I planned to meet. And 2011, that's all she wrote. We've been best friends since. And with me being homeschooled, it was a lot easier to be out and do fun things. And there were a lot of things that I could do in UAE that I couldn't do living in Georgia. Like in UAE, I didn't have to be home when the streetlights came on just because of how safe it is being there. I know there would be times with me being homeschooled, I'd probably wake up anywhere between 8 and 10. I'd be done with a week's worth of schoolwork by 4 or 5 o'clock. And by the time Mo got done with his classes, we were already on the road to Dubai or something. So,
Yes, and we love Mo to this day.
yes. Yo, especially when it would rain in UAE, one of the biggest things there during, I guess you could say during the summer period, summer season, when it rains, a lot of the locals who basically whoever has a Nissan Vitic, they will be out there in that desert, and they will be drifting, and that's how I learned to to drift in the desert. I learned how to drive in UAE. I learned how to drive a stick shift in UAE with Mo. Yeah, that good memories. I have some. I could go on for days. I had so much fun being out there. I learned a lot of new things.
What is one thing that you learned that sticks out the most?
How to haggle. Yeah, when we when we would go out, and how to haggle. And because he knew so many different languages, um he Tagalog, the Filipino language, he knew Urdu, one of the Indian languages, of course English, he knew Arabic. So one thing I did learn, not just from being in UAE but from hanging around him, is that people like when you speak their native language. And maybe if something costs one price and you happen to know Tagalog, you could probably get it knocked down a few prices just for knowing that person's native language.
Share with us, were you able to pick up on the Arabic language? If so, how was that experience for you?
I was a with also with the help of you getting us that private tutor, I was able to pick up on some Arabic. I learned that sitting down learning a language does not work for me. I have to be immersed in it. So I remember when I was teaching pre-K, as an English teacher, after school, my some of my Emirati students, they told me, "Miss, you must learn Arabic." I said, "I don't have anybody to teach me." So my pre-K students some of the first ones to teach me Arabic, and they started with the alphabet. Same way I was teaching them that English alphabet. This is A. They taught me Miss. This is Alif A. This is our A. So slowly I learned my alphabet. Then they taught me how to put my letters, this my CVC in Arabic. They taught me my CVC words, and then from there I was able to read, and reading definitely helped me learn to speak.
We also spent a lot of time in El Khazna, which is where
Yes,
there
the
were
very
days I would be ready to leave work and they'd say, "No, miss, come to our home." We would spend a lot of time in El Khazna from early day to late at night,
late
telling
at
us
night.
you can just sleep over,
Yeah,
spending a lot of time at their farm. And the women, well, I won't say the women didn't drive, but my friend, she didn't drive. The men, and they had a driver. So the men did the
yep.
driving, taking them to and from. But when they knew that I drove, they said, "Miss, you can drive our truck to the farm. We want to go to the farm." And I was so afraid. But the husband said, "Sure, you can drive." And that was an experience in itself, driving in the desert at night with all of us packed into this big truck. But that was another opportunity to be immersed in the culture, to pick up the language and understand the culture, appreciate the culture as well.
Oh yeah. I know, or I guess I can say I remember, like, oh well, we're not all gonna fit. Oh yes, we'll fit. You sit on my lap, they sit on their lap. The children can sit in the front. Yes, a family for sure.
When I was driving, I was driving with caution because the road, it wasn't a paved road going to the farm. It was unlevel, really bumpy. And they're like, "No, miss, fast, fast." And I'm driving faster. And they're like, "Faster, faster, faster." But that
Yeah.
all was an experience. Tell us about your experience going to Jebel Hafid.
Oh my gosh. So I know that I used to go a lot. I would go down to Mubazara at the bottom, and if I remember from translation, Mubazara just means the green land. And they had a natural hot spring that ran through the mountain, and people would go, the small children would play in the water. It was very hot and it was so relaxing. And it was just amazing to see all of the families there having picnics, even on school nights. Or when I would go to the top of Jebel Hafid with my friends, sometimes on some nights there would be the Pakistani men and they'd all have their trucks and they'd be at the top of the mountain just dancing and playing their music. And you could really just see the whole city from the top of the mountain. And it's just so scenic and beautiful. And this is how much like my friends really made me feel seen and heard. Is I remember telling my friend that I wanted to go and watch the sunrise at the top of Jebel Hafid. So the next few days, I remember he says, "Okay, I'm gonna come and get you." Called me. I wasn't expecting anything. Called me at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and said, "Be ready. I'm about to come get you." And he comes and he picks me up at 4 o'clock in the morning with a thermos of chai halib or tea milk and breakfast that his mother prepared that morning. And just went and watched the sunrise. And when the sun came up, dropped me back off at home, and he went off to university. And it was definitely an experience. It was so amazing.
At what point did you embrace being in the UAE?
I embraced being in the UAE when I realized that I could do things there that I couldn't do back in the States. I remember having to come home when the streetlights came on, or if I just thought that there would be traffic, I and I would possibly be late coming home. I could just hear dad saying, "Well, you should have left 30 minutes earlier." I didn't have to worry about any of that in UAE. I was able to stay out just because I was with trusting people. People that you trusted, people that you liked. They weren't questionable people. Heck, they even told on me to you. So
Yes, they did.
I was I was able to, I was able to be out. I didn't have to sneak to be a teenager.
So, if you could give one piece of advice to another teen moving abroad, what would you tell them?
Do everything. Do everything. Just do it. Do it all. Within reason and safety. Um, yeah. If you think you're gonna come off as a tourist, just be a tourist. You YOLO. You only live once. How how often is it that you probably get to, like, for me, how often is it that I'll be able to go back to UAE? I had a good run from 2011 to 2013, and then I moved back in
No, 2011
2016
to
to 2000,
2015. 2011 to 2015. You went back in
and then I went
2016.
back to 2019.
Hmm.
And I wish I took so many more pictures. I didn't take a lot of pictures because I was scared of looking like a tourist, but I should have just looked like a tourist.
We had a good friend. We have a good friend, still friends to this day, who was also our neighbor. And her friend, Egyptian guy, would always say, if we were worried about something, Kali Wali.
Don't worry
And,
about it.
and I find myself sometimes saying, Kali Wali, don't worry about it. So.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Courtney, thank you. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. I love sharing this space with you. It's a place where we can laugh, support, and grow together. As a reminder, stay open, stay curious, and keep giving yourself permission to try new things. Every new step is a chance to discover strength you didn't know you had. So until next time, everyone, tune in again.